Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to introduce our next guest, a digital artist who is taking the world by storm with her remarkable talent, creativity, and vision. At just 14 years old, our guest has already achieved more than most of us will in a lifetime. With her art featured on major news outlets like the Today Show and CNN, she's a CAA signed artist and even had a Cadillac commercial as their rising icon. But what truly sets our guest apart is her status as a young virtuoso in NFTs, breaking barriers and blazing trails in a rapidly evolving industry. With her unique aesthetic, innovative techniques, and boundless imagination, our guest has been recognized as one of the most exciting and influential artists of her generation, earning a coveted spot as Time Magazine's Artist in Residence, as well as Black Enterprise's 40 Under 40 and Ebony Magazine's 2022 Power 100 list. But perhaps what's most inspiring about our guest is her unwavering commitment to her craft, her community, and her vision for a brighter and more inclusive future, advocating for greater diversity and representation in the art world. So whether she's encouraging and educating kids on NFTs as Zigazoo community educator, or helping adults remember how to dream big on her Rug Radio sponsored Twitter Spaces show, our guest is a true force of nature and a living testament to the power of talent, hard work, familial support, and perseverance. So please join us today as we sit down with this remarkable young artist and explore the cutting edge of NFTs, digital art, and the limitless potential of human creativity. You won't want to miss it. Nyla, it's an utmost pleasure to welcome you to the Immutable Mindset.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be here.
Awesome.
Nyla, so happy to see you too. And I'm going to jump in quickly and just give a little bit of background to everyone out there. In my NFT journey with my daughter, who's 10, we were looking for projects for us to kind of get involved with together. And Nyla's work came my way, and I said, this is pretty awesome. So the second NFT that I minted with my daughter was our long neck lady. It was pretty awesome. We did that together, and I had the pleasure to meet Nyla and her amazing family, and your younger brother, right? Who was with us in Minneapolis at VCon. So that was super exciting. Thrilled to have you on the show. You're an inspiration to all of us. I know you're an inspiration to my daughter, and excited to dive in. So let's do it.
Thank you.
And Kevin,
good segue. Well, before we actually dive into NFTs, blockchain, metaverse, and all those buzzwords that we all like to use, of course, would love to hear a little bit more about, you before your rise to fame. And Adam kind of touched on it, talking about your brother. For instance, one thing I heard, that interested me was that you were homeschooled your whole life. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and your upbringing and how you first discovered your love for art?
Yeah, of course. So like you said, I've been homeschooled my entire life. And the reason behind that was when I was younger, I'm actually from Philadelphia, and the area that I was at the time, it was not the best. So school-wise. So, my mom thought it'd be a good idea to homeschool us. And, that's what she did. And, one of my earliest memories growing up was having this love for art and arts and crafts, because that was my favorite activity at school. She would do arts and crafts with us all the time. And it would just be like simple things like, drawing like maybe a cat or a dog. But those things were just really fun and exciting to me, and I think that's something me and my brother both share. We love doing artistic things because it kind of allows us to express our emotions and our feelings, and that's a really big thing for me, especially when I was younger, because I had a horrible time talking about my feelings and my emotions, and art was just a gateway for me to kind of express myself, even if it was just a simple picture, but the feeling that I had for it, it was something so much bigger than that. And, fast forwarding to like the age of 9, that's actually when I started to get really serious about art. And I knew that I really wanted it to be like a career of mine. And, when I was younger, I was actually really into dance, and dance was my first thing that I knew how to express myself. I've been dancing since I was first came out of the womb, basically. So it basically was like a thing that I just loved so much. And my parents were very supportive. So they went ahead and they let me do dance classes. And, I really enjoyed it. But sadly, our financial status was not the best at the time. So, we couldn't keep going on with the dances. But that's kind of when I kind of turned to artwork, and I turned to like expressing myself more so into art because, I was really depressed about like not being able to dance anymore because that was like the thing that I really loved at the time. And I thought I was going to be a ballerina, but it didn't turn out that way. But still.
Oh, you still got a long time to go. You still have a long time to go.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, curious, now that you've gotten into the art, have you gotten back into dancing?
Well, I still do as a hobby. It's always something that's going to be a part of me, but I don't think I'm going to want to be a ballerina when I grow up anymore.
So that dream has passed.
Yeah, that has passed, sadly. But, art was always a big way for me to express my emotions. And just expressing my emotions in general in a artistic form is something that's really big to me. So I think anything that I can express my emotions through, that's what I'm going to turn to. But so. Mm-hmm.
No, please go ahead.
No, okay. I was just going to keep going on my story because.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So fast forwarding to 9, that's actually when I started to get really serious about art. And I always had like artists in my life, like Frida Kahlo and, art, like this amazing artist that my grandfather actually showed me. And my grandfather was also another really big supporter of mine because I have a really close relationship with my grandparents. And, my whole family in general, they're really supportive of what I like and what I do. So I was really into art at the time, and I wanted to become an artist. And I knew from my favorite artist, Frida Kahlo, that I had to, figure out what art style I want to be able to do, number one. And number two, I had to figure out, like, I needed to tell a story because I knew that, if I had to be an artist, I would have to tell a story and I would have to find my own art style. So, this is actually the age where I got my first phone. And
at 9?
Yeah.
Thank you. At 9?
My daughter got hers at 10. My daughter got hers at 10 for her 10th birthday. So we're not too far off here.
Okay.
Well, I was 16 when I got mine, Nyla.
Oh, well, you're dating yourself. So you get your phone at 9, and what happened?
So when I got my phone at 9, it was actually a funny story how I got the phone. I always been drawing, like I said, and it was paper everywhere, just everywhere. So I had to, my parents was tired of like picking up paper all the time, basically. So
tell me about it.
I had to kind of trick them into getting me a phone because they thought I was a bit young.
I was going to ask if you bought extra paper to write extra things so that there might be a little more paper around so that maybe parents might be incentivized. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But, I tricked them basically to get me a phone because I knew they were tired of picking up paper, and I knew it was like something called digital art. So I thought, hey, I could just do this and they won't have to pick up the paper. And they went with it. So
there you go.
And that's kind of just how I got my first phone. And then after that, I just really started, I knew that I wanted to try something new and different with the digital art because it was something different for me. And I wanted to do something out of the ordinary. So I already knew I wanted to be an artist. And I thought, this could just be a good pathway for me to start a new like chapter in my art journey. And that's what I did. So I remember.
Would you mind diving into that pivot between you kind of going from like traditional art to more of the digital?
Yeah. Okay. So traditional art, it was very fun and it was really cool. I did, just arts and crafts with traditional art. But the thing was, I always never had a steady hand, and it was always harder for me to draw on like, physical paper and whatnot. And, certain things like that, you have to be taught and learn. And I didn't go to like art school or anything, but, it was kind of easier when I went to digital art, and I think because of my generation, I was kind of like savvy with the phone more so. So
Right. You're native to it.
yeah.
It's what you know.
So it was kind of like another language to me, basically, like a second language. It was very easy. So I think, that's kind of what drawed me to digital art. But also, I saw like a bunch of digital artists on Pinterest before when I was younger, and their art was really cool to me. So I thought, okay, maybe I can try that out.
Inspire that way. Absolutely. Great segue. So let's bring the audience up to speed, right? All right. So you're 9, you got your phone, you've been doing digital art for a while, and you get a text from your uncle, and he's telling you about NFTs, and you guys decide to go all in. Can you bring our audience up to speed, kind of what happens during that process and how you get involved in the NFTs at that point?
And how did you learn about it? Like, what was like your initial thoughts? Like, are your friends talking about it? Are you seeing it on the news, on TV shows? What was your exposure at the time? I mean, we're talking 3 years ago, and we've come a long way in 3 years, right? Up and down through the roller coaster, as you guys know. So, what was that first exposure like to NFTs, and what did you think about them?
So actually, I got introduced to NFTs when I was 12 because when I was 9, that's when I actually created my lawn Nikes, and I actually created them when I was at my grandmom's house, and I asked her, like, what should I draw? And she said, just draw something that you love. And that's what I did. I drew something that I loved at the time, and it was the Brontosaurus dinosaur mixed with women because I loved how, powerful and strong and elegant their necks were, talking about the Brontosaurus. And I loved how, powerful and strong women were. And I loved my grandmom and my mom, and they've always been a big inspiration in my life. So I thought it only would be right to, mix the two together. But, fast forward to when I was 12, I just kept creating my lawn Nikes, and they kind of just turned into my friends. And yeah, so I basically, I knew I wanted to put my art out there, and I didn't know how to. So I talked to my family about it. Maybe they said, you can put it out in a flea market or something, but we never really knew like what to do with it. So my uncle, thanks to him, he's really like into the latest news and whatnot, and he's always like knowing of things. So he texted my mom about NFTs and said, I don't know much about it, but maybe you can like see if Nyla would be interested in putting her art out there. And, we were looking for a while to figure out like what to do with my art. So we were kind of like, it doesn't matter. Let's just try it. You see how it goes. And that's what we did. We basically just looked into like what an NFT was because we had no idea what that was at all. We never heard of it before. And, it was always like we were open for almost anything. So we were just looking on YouTube, and we figured out what an NFT was and how to mint an NFT and basically all the good stuff. But yeah, that's kind of
well, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack with that one too, because minting an NFT isn't that easy. I mean, I minted an NFT with my daughter, but we didn't have the intention of doing a whole series or a whole campaign. It was very easy to mint a one-off. But was there the mindset and the business sense of, hey, listen, we're going to launch a campaign, we're going to launch multiple versions of this, or was it like, let's just give it a try and see if we could figure out this minting process? And did you have anyone to kind of to show you the way?
No, we didn't. We really had my mom. She was like really devoted to actually figure it out for me because she's very supportive, like I said. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's really like, if you want to do this, I'll push forward and try it. So she really took a lot of time and effort to learn it. And, in the beginning, I did my one-on-one art. So I didn't start off with a PFP project. I started off with this basically
one-on-ones.
Yeah, putting my old art when I was 9 on the blockchain and just putting it out there because I didn't even know what a PFP was at the time because it was not popular. And I also didn't know if it was going to go well. So it was just like a test run basically. And, I just really wanted to put my art out there and, show it to the world, I thought. So I was just happy with putting my art on the blockchain. And Yeah. So
with the original pieces, hand drawings, and then you scanned them in. When did you make the transition to, is everything hand drawn or scanned in, and you moved over to digital?
it was already digital at the time.
Stylus.
Yeah. It was a stylus.
Got it. So the originals are still digital. Got it. Cool.
Yep.
So when did that light bulb went off and you're like, wait a minute, people are liking my, was it a waterfall or was it a trickle of interest? How did the momentum build up of the awareness of your work?
I think for me personally, I think it was the first Clubhouse room I got into. So at the time when I entered the space, it was 2021 of March. So Clubhouse was like really big at the time, and everyone was in Clubhouse, and that's how you kind of like told your story and basically sold your art. And, I was just trying to meet people in the community, actually in the beginning. So we DM'd like hundreds of people on Twitter, and it was not many people who respond. It was only usually. And it was Trish and Artificate, and they kind of like brought us into the community. Trish, she really helped with us like connecting with people in the Clubhouse, basically. So that's what I did in the beginning. And I think the first Clubhouse room I went into, I already knew I wanted to be a part of it because they were just really supportive, and they were just like so eager to learn about my story, and they couldn't believe that I was only 12 at the time. And yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's where you got to meet Keith Grossman from Time Magazine and kind of start that relationship, right?
I actually met Keith all the way, I think, in June when I actually released my PFP project, Long Nikki Ladies. It's the funniest thing, actually. Yeah.
Hey,
that's mine. That's
nice.
mine right there. If anybody's
awesome.
And then I have my Lincoln one too, which I'll bring up. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually met in the same day as my PFP dropped, and
nice.
We were actually we were in Clubhouse all day, basically, and our good friend, John Knopf, he actually told us that Keith Grossman's in the other room and he wants us to come in his room because everyone had like my PFPs on their profile, and they were like, what is this? He was like, what is this? So I went into his room. I basically told him like what they were, and I told him like, my story, and he really liked it. So we kept in touch, and that's kind of how the relationship blossomed.
So let me ask you a question there. I mean, what was it like, with you're underage, you're going into these Clubhouse rooms with mostly adults. Mm-hmm. Was that weird? Did you feel comfortable? Like, was everyone like nice and appropriate? Like, how was that experience?
I mean, sometimes they can be a little inappropriate, but, we try to, get out of those type of rooms at the time,
Yeah.
Yeah. It was always me and my mom. So even if something was happening, she was always there to protect me. And,
good.
Also,
good job, Mom.
Yeah. And also, most of the rooms when people knew that I was there, they were very very respectful of like my age and very just
fantastic.
Yeah, nice. So
and that's a good side of this community, right? They're supportive, and I think we all understand. And as we go further down this train of Web3, that onboarding is with the kids. Mm-hmm. I'm doing it with my daughter through your project, through a couple of other projects, and we got to be appropriate. Of course, there's areas that we keep away from you guys, mm-hmm. that we keep you safe from. But for the most part, what I see out there, it's pretty PG.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe a little PG-13 here and there, but you're old enough for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the awesome thing about Long Nikki Ladies, right? Because it invites
mm-hmm.
a conversation, and that's it. That's exactly what it did with my 5-year-old talking
here's
about.
My other one. There's my other one.
Awesome.
I got the Cadillac one, my limited Cadillac.
I mean, since
this one's all animated, this one's cool.
Since we're talking about it, and since he's doing it, I don't have my phone with me, but we're also proud owners of Long Nikki Dinos now, as my son, which we'll get to later. We will get to later.
Okay.
We'll get to later. But I just wanted to, since Adam's over here, flexing. I digress.
Yeah,
but
my OGs.
So Nyla, just curious. You find a way to get your art onto the blockchain. You figure out the minting process. You start going into these Clubhouse rooms, connecting with people that are involved in the NFT space, and even actually taking it back before we kind of progress into the next phase. I'm curious about the actual the selling of the art phase, right? Like your art sold out in 2 hours. You're 12 years old. This is all new to you. I don't know if you feel like you know what you're doing, but it sells out in 2 hours. Like what emotions does that bring? How do you feel? What's going on inside?
I think, so I remember it was a long day on Clubhouse rooms. And, actually after we got off the Clubhouse room, my dad and my mom were actually helping during the time with the producers, well, not producers, but like the ones that are helping behind the
moderators.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So they were helping during that time. And, I just come downstairs and they told me basically that it sold out. And my face was just shocked. Like, really? That quick? That was amazing. And, it was awesome. I was really surprised at the time. I was still really new in the NFT space. And,
was there
it was really nice to see that my community was supporting me in that way.
Was there anybody in particular that bought it that you were like, yes?
Oh, I think it's a lot of people. That's really hard. I think, I think a lot of people that I like, I can't even name them. I guess
it's okay to stay agnostic. I know you have a lot of fans. I saw you got Paris Hilton. You got all these. I saw.
Oh, Paris Hilton was one of the ones that was super shocking to us. It's actually a funny story. My dad will kill me for saying this, but I don't care. So Paris Hilton, she did a retweet of our tweet that we did. And I remember I was sleeping and I heard a huge scream and I was like, what's going on? And I go in and to my parents' room and my dad's screaming like, Paris Hilton just retweeted our thing. And I was like, oh my God, wow. It was crazy. So I think she was definitely one of the ones that were like a big surprise to us. Yeah.
That's awesome. And since long necky ladies as well. And that's just, one thing you've been working on. Can you tell us about, some more of the art projects or the NFTs that you released in some of those projects?
Yeah. I have a lot of NFT projects that I released, so it's going to be hard to pick, but I do have.
How about your favorite? Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of favorites, but, right now I'm really into like having a deep meaning for my artwork. So I think my recent favorite is actually the drop I did this month for Nick Davis, amazing Black artist who sadly passed away recently. And I knew Nick Davis through the Cadillac drop that we did together. And, he was an amazing artist. I always wanted to collaborate with him, but sadly didn't get the chance to. So I knew that I wanted to honor him in some way, shape, or form. So I thought, doing a piece inspired by his art style, but always, keeping my art style as well, would honor him in that way. And that's what I did. And it had a really big meaning to me personally as a friend of his. So,
yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that was a really big piece for me that I did recently, but it's one of my favorites.
And I saw that, and it does look awesome, man. That's a fantastic way to honor your friend, for sure. In terms, the Cadillac commercial, you were Time Magazine's, Artist in Residence, Black Enterprise 40 Under 40, Ebony Magazine's Power 100 list. How do you stay grounded and focused? You have all this attention, you have, all these things happening all the time.
I think it's the people you surround yourself with. I think my parents are just very, wholesome people, not very like haughty in any way. So I think, being around people like that will keep your mind grounded. And that's the way we've been raised our life. We just keep going, basically. That's our mindset. It's amazing that I got able to, do all these amazing things, but, you have to keep going. You have to, keep trying and beat your next goal, basically. It's like a video game, kind of.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I think it's around the people I'm surrounded with really like build my character as a person to, keep myself humble.
I love it. And that's thanks to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
Love
Yeah,
my
and
parents.
good segue. Can we just, you've kind of touched on it within reason, but I haven't asked the question directly. Can you just talk about that familial support again? Especially with you being 14, you're going to need a lot of support, a lot of people to help you learn about new things that are happening. Can you just talk about that process, having kind of your team of family behind you and helping you learn and grow and get to this next steps?
Yeah. As an artist, you really need someone that you trust to actually look at your art or just have feedback for it, basically. And my mother is one person that I only really trust with my artwork in the way of like, I can understand her feedback and she gives me mine, and she'll be straight up with me, basically. So, people like that gives you a feeling that you can trust and you can depend on them. That's really big for me personally. And I'm just really blessed to have a family, a whole family really, to treat me like that. And, my family as a dynamic is actually really cool. My mom, she's like the businesswoman slash artist, like friend of mine's. We're like really close and we're like best friends. But also,
I love it.
yeah, but also, my dad, he helps a lot too. He helps with more of the tech side, but he tries to stay humble, so he doesn't really tell that often, but he helps a lot with that too. And then my brother, he's really the tech guy. He is all tech, man. He helps.
And how old is he?
He's 10. He just turned 10.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
So what's he doing? Like, let's talk about tech
I was just
savviness
gonna
right
say,
there. Let's
yep.
get into tech because this is interesting. At 10 years old, tell us what your
Yep.
brother is able to do.
Yeah. So, number one, he knows how to help us with the socials because we're horrible at it. Even me, and I'm part of Gen Z, and I'm horrible at socials. So, he helps us with that. He helps us with the video ideas. He helps us with, trying to do the drops as well, telling me like, oh, I think this would look cool, blah, blah, blah. But also, he's just really good with technology, and he helps us when we're trying to figure out things, especially with the Web3 space, because we're not that good with it. So he helps a lot with that type of things.
Nyla, I have two older sisters, and if one of my older sisters was a famous NFT artist that did all the things that you did, I might feel a certain way. How has your brother taken the fame, and how has your brother just taken, being a sibling of yours?
I think he takes it fine because we don't really think of ourselves that way,
Yeah.
We are just very wholesome family, like I said. And, Michael's very like smart in his own way, and he has his own things that he does on his own. And he actually does stop motion. I believe that's what it's called. I don't know. I don't want to mess it up, but it is stop motion, and he has his own thing that he does. And I think, we always support each other as a family. It's no like favoritism or anything. So I think he feels fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now that you've, explored NFTs and blockchain and, just emerging technologies, are there any other technologies, AI, VR, AR that you guys have explored using with your art, or just in general, anything that you're excited about?
Well, not yet, sadly, but I would like to either have a Loneki world in the metaverse, maybe one day, who knows? Or I would probably want to do like AI art. I've seen that lately and it's been really, really cool. So I haven't sadly tried it, but I want to.
Yeah, check out some of the work that Young and Sick is doing. It's another project. I'll send it to you afterwards. They're doing some pretty cool stuff. My buddy Mo is helping them out with their AI and creating this meta world and bringing their NFTs into that through the barflies and some other extensions. So, and it's also a very, very arty, as I like to call it. I don't know. It's like cool art, like your stuff too. It's not like these cartoony, it's like real art. And how do you bring that into the metaverse? It's interesting. What excites you? I mean, you're at these events, you're speaking at these panels, you're meeting, the sharpest minds, the thought leaders out there. Like, what gets you excited about the future?
A lot of things. I mean, honestly, in the Web3 space, I'm just excited to see where it goes. I mean, being a part of something so new, especially with technology, you see like going back all the way back to like Facebook and seeing how people got onto that and seeing how much it changed and evolved through the times. I'm just excited to see that in Web3. And, I'm just excited to be our early our early adapter to it, you know. And I do think it's going to be a really big thing in the future. I think maybe it would be, who knows, maybe we'd be paying money through it or something like that. Like for, let's say, going to the supermarket and we use NFT for like a credit card or something. Who knows? But I'm just excited to see. Yeah, I'm just excited to see where it goes. So I'm looking forward to that.
And now I kind of want to just a quick pivot question, but I definitely want to ask you, because I think you're going to have an interesting perspective on this. You know, you've been recognized as an advocate for greater diversity and representation in the art world. Can you speak to, you know, and I've heard you speak about how important that is to you to represent that. Can you speak to that importance and you know, creating a more inclusive and equitable NFT industry, or just kind of, you know, digital asset industry?
Yeah. So I think, you know, a big thing okay, I'm sorry. Can you go into a little more deeper in the question? I need to understand it a little better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, I've heard you talk about the fact that, you know, we need more representation from different, you know, different nooks and crannies of our world. And we want to make sure that we have a diverse look, a diverse perspective, diverse thought, bringing into the art world and being able to display those perspectives so that everybody gets an idea of like what's really out there. Just curious of your thoughts on that, because I mean, you're a young Black artist that's bringing something new to the world. Just curious about, how impactful that is to you and seeing other young kids that are able to see that.
Yeah. Okay. I understand now. So I'm sorry. You know, just being like able to, have someone to actually like look up to. Personally, for me, when I was younger, is a really big thing. You know, role models are important in a kid's life or almost anyone's life, but especially for a young person. You know, as an artist, I had someone to look up to, and that was Frida Kahlo. But then as someone I strived to be as a person, I had my mom and my grandmom. And I think a lot of times nowadays, people don't have someone to look up to as much as they used to. So, you know, it's always big for me personally to be an inspiration for people and letting you know that if I can do it, you can too. And, you know, in my art journey, I would have never thought that I got this far. I just really was a kid with a dream of being an artist, and I just wanted to put my art out there. And look where it got me. So, you know, it really just having a role model is really, you know, big for me. And I mean, I don't think I'm that good to be a role model for someone, but I would like to be an inspiration for someone. So, yeah.
I love it.
No, it's quite powerful because, you know, at the end of the day, whether you realize it or not, your actions speak, you know, they speak louder than words. And that's what kids are going to see. And that's what they're going to gravitate to.
Do you consider yourself a role model? Like, do you feel like it's a heavy crown to wear? I mean, where do you see, I mean, listen, you're on the stage of VCon last year. You're back at VCon. You're standing there up there with Gary Vee and some of the biggest names in this universe that the kids know. Like my daughter know, and her friends know who Gary Vee is, among other amazing NFT artists that are at the forefront of culture too. I mean, you're up there. Like people know who you are. What does that feel like? Is there a big responsibility that comes with it?
You know, it's a lot of nerves, to be honest with you. I get nervous easily, but, you know, I think nervousness is actually a big part of it because I feel like it is a big, big opportunity that I have, kind of, and I don't want to ever mess it up. But, you know, I hope to be a role model for kids one day. I mean, I'm still in the early beginnings and I'm still, you know, trying, but I just want to be an inspiration for people, you know, and I want them to see my art and I want them to be like, I like her art and you know, smile about it and, you know, things like that. But also I think, you know, just showing a diversity of my art, you know, like how I do women from all around the world. I want everyone to be included and I love all cultures and backgrounds. So, you know, just having a big part of that and, you know, I just want to be inspiration to everyone basically. So, I hope to be a role model for someone, but I don't know if I'm at that status yet.
Well, one follow-up question to that, and I really adore your humbleness and such a young age and self-awareness, and you get it. Who do you look up to? Who are your role models aside from your parents, who've done a tremendous job? Who do you look up to, whether it be in this space, out of this space, athletes, celebrities? It doesn't matter who it is. Who do you look up to?
Well, I'm going to say
change makers
in the space. I have to say Keith Grossman. Keith Grossman has always been a great friend, but also an amazing business partner. And the way he handles business, and it is really inspirational to me as someone who is a young entrepreneur trying to be a businesswoman. And, I never actually thought of my art as a business before meeting Keith Grossman. He actually helped me realize that, this is not just art that you did, but this is your IP. This is your, basically like your company, basically. So
it's your brand.
Yeah, it's a brand. So, he really helped me in that way. And I think he's a big inspiration to most people in the space, but he has a really special place in my heart. So, yeah.
And you're not the only one to say that. And Keith, if you're listening, if we haven't invited you yet onto the show, we are, but I think I will before you hear this. So if you hear that, and I know we're like 1 degree apart. And I think I actually years ago, I think I had an interview with him, when I was looking for a job once. I think I interviewed a time with him, when he first came on there. But Kevin, bring us home here.
Yeah. Just, to segue talking about your art, I'm just curious, if you had to just choose one piece of your art that represents you as an artist, just curious what that would be and why.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Maybe I should do one of my first pieces that I made when I was like young. I'm talking about like when I was 9. I think my favorite piece still to this day, it has like a special meaning. It's the first ever lawn Nike that I made. It has so many memories from when I actually was like where I was at the time, and now looking from now, seeing how much I grew as an artist and as a person. And, I think just looking back at it, it makes me smile to see, where I began. And I remember that day that I actually made my first ever lawn Nike that was at my grandma's house. And it was a special day for me because that's kind of where the whole lawn Nikes came about. So I think that's my favorite.
That's awesome. Piece. That's awesome. All right. If I don't ask this, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. So I have a 5-year-old son named Julius, and I promised I would ask. He is the biggest fan of dinosaurs. When I tell you, I could point out any dinosaur known in the history of the Cretaceous or Jurassic period, and he would know what it is no matter what. So his question was, which you kind of already answered, but I still have to ask. Why did you choose brontosauruses as your dinosaur, and why not a Gigantosaurus or an Allosaurus? Because they're more fierce.
Oh, okay. Fierce.
Good question.
Well, that's a good question, and I'll give you a good reason. Because with brontosauruses, they're not only just beautiful with their long necks, but they have they're known for having a peaceful, calm attitude, and they're a community-based dinosaur. So they work together. And that's why I like the brontosaurus better than a T-Rex or something more fierce, because it shows love and community. So.
I heard the brontosaurus started the first Discord back in as like so Nyla, and last question that we have here before we get to the fun part of the show. Not that this wasn't fun, but we have a final segment here. For all the young ladies out there, and for my 10-year-old daughter Nina, what golden piece of advice would you give young girls out there to really set them forward on the right path?
Oh, that's a good one. I would have to say, just never give up. Even when your circumstances are limited, or if you're struggling with anything, you always will have yourself, and you always will have someone supporting you. And even if you don't, so believe in yourself and believe in what you want to do, because anything's possible. And, I never thought I would be an artist at all. I thought it was just a dream of mine, but, just putting yourself out there and just trying, nothing hurts to try. So I think just trying and never giving up is one of the best advice I can give to you.
I love that.
And that is absolutely tremendous. And I hope all the young ladies out there.
I have goosebumps.
Nyla is a tremendous example. So I'm going to toss it over to Kevin here. And we like to finish the show with a fun little segment. So Kevin, take it away.
All right. So as he said, we are almost at the end of our show. And before we wrap up, we do like to do like a quick lightning round of questions for the audience to get a better understanding, Nyla, of where your heart lies. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. And for each one, I need you to answer one or the other. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Which inspires you more visually, art or dance?
Art. I have to say art now. I think art has... Okay.
No, please go ahead.
No, art has just inspired me in multiple different ways in my life. And I realize that art doesn't just come in a form of drawing, but it also comes in so many different forms now. So I think art is the one way that I express myself now more so. So I think art is the winner for me.
Nice. All right. Favorite collection, long necky ladies or long necky fellas?
That's going to be a hard one. I'm going to say long necky ladies, to be honest with you. But I love my fellas. I love
original.
My fellas.
I hear you. Digital or traditional art?
I want to have to say digital because I'm a digital artist.
I hear you. How about bold or subtle colors?
Bold. I like
bold,
bright colors. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Abstract or representational art?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to say abstract this time. I
thought abstract. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Twitter or Clubhouse?
Twitter. Twitter.
Nice. When creating your art, music or silence?
Music. Always music.
Nice. All right. And the last two questions are kind of questions. So most exciting trends in NFTs that you see?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. I think right now, that's a hard one. I think, just doing like, I think the little cute cartoons are really cute right now. I think that's a really cute one. I think it's like, it's very like cute to have as your like profile picture, or if you have like, for your wallpaper screen, it's very aesthetically pleasing. So I think something like that.
Nice. And then last one here. Favorite part of the process, minting, selling, or drawing?
Drawing. It has to be drawing.
There you go. There you go.
For me.
Way to bring that in home. All right. And for the absolute last segment of the day. All right. So we talk about AI, right? Are you familiar with ChatGPT?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. So there's this new
explain what ChatGPT is.
Yeah.
Kevin.
It's like an application, I guess. There's this new application where essentially they have scoured all information across the world through the ages and put it into this resource so that when you ask it questions, it has all the information in the world to deliver to you a good answer. That's probably the best way I'll put it for you.
It's kind of like Google for Web3.
It's like Google for Web3, but it's like having somebody there that knows a little bit more. So what I do is every day I wake up and I ask it a joke. I ask it to tell me a joke. And so I do that for my guests as well. So I'm going to tell you what I asked it to tell me a joke about, and then I'll tell you what the joke is.
Okay.
All right. So I said, hey, ChatGPT, you have the famed digital artist Nyla Hayes gracing your presence on your show. You need to come up with a funny joke that's about the NFT world that ties in her experience and background and actually makes her laugh. What you got? I'm sorry. You'll see. All right. Here's what it had. NFTs are like the Pokemon cards of the digital world. Instead of collecting rare and powerful Pokemon, collectors are now seeking out rare and unique digital art. So why did the NFT artist cross the road? To catch them all on the blockchain.
But I'm pumped.
Yeah, it could be hit or miss, Nyla. It could be hit or miss. It doesn't always work out.
Yeah, it was
but
funny.
That's how I start my day.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that.
AI tries. It'll get better.
Just go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Nyla, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Please, can you tell let the audience know where to find you on social and how to connect with you?
Yeah, of course. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Nyla Collection _NFT. I believe that's for my Instagram. And then you can just see me on Twitter at Nyla Collection.
And where would they find your artwork in case they're interested in checking it out?
Okay, so you can find that on, I believe, OpenSea. You can find that on OpenSea. So
nice.
Check it out, everybody.
Please do.
Nyla, it's been a just quick note here. It's been a true pleasure and honor for me to get to know you and your family. And I want to thank you for inspiring me. The future is bright and leading the way and being an example for not just my daughter, but all the young kids out there that if you put your mind to it and you dream big, you can make anything happen. So thank you. Kevin, bring us home.
And sorry, to that point right there, that was a fabulous, and I'll leave it here. He said dream big, the Rug Radio segment. You're not doing it just for kids. You're doing it for adults. Your story is incredibly inspirational to persevere and continue on. And literally you continuing to do this stuff with adults like us. It's amazing. So again, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. And to everyone listening at home, I greatly appreciate you for joining us today on the Immutable Mindset. Please follow us on all our social media channels at Immutable Show. Subscribe, comment, and network. Thank you for joining us, and catch us next week. Adam, take us home.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.